Hi there. To answer the questions in this week's discussion post, um, my initial thoughts on reviewing the proposed master plan is that I'm happy that GVSU is trying to make adjustments and improvements into our campus as well as the way that their students are able to learn. I also think that we are expecting a lot and putting a lot out there when we could just focus on really digging deep into a couple of areas and making sure those get done rather than having the hope that all of these things will get done and then nothing actually happening. Or if we have a hope of all of these multiple things getting done and then only one thing gets done for years and years and years, it's not going to seem as such of a accomplishment, or won't feel like such an accomplishment. I also don't think that this is very realistic. I think some things are realistic, especially when it comes to the digital learning center and like the, I don't remember what they called it, but it was the like active learning areas. I feel like those, like the advancements in technology being put into the classrooms, would be something that we could do that seems really realistic and would definitely be of benefit to students, especially those who like to study in groups, those who want to be able to use writing out on an electronic pad, having it up on a TV, being able to use the technology on campus more usefully and have it with a purpose. And I think it would be good to include it at that end of the campus in Manitou and Michigan Hall, or Lake Michigan, just because I feel like lots of the technology and stuff that you could use that's like useful and actually works well is towards the other end of campus, towards the library and Kirkhoff. So I think that putting it there in Mackinac and Manitou would actually be a good idea. Another thing I think is realistic is the expansion of the child care center. I think that with the overall goal of having like a 21% increase in students on Allendale's campus, I think that by opening up the child care center and like making it more expansive and more easily accessible for those who do have children and want to further their education, it would definitely make them feel as if they have the option to, not as if, oh crap, I gotta figure out all this school stuff, oh crap, I gotta now figure out my kids' stuff because campus doesn't have it. But if we were able to create a way that it would be, again, like I said, more accessible and easily affordable and be able to work with the thought of a student's schedule and a student's life in mind, as well as a parent's life in mind, I think that that would be a pretty realistic and quite successful part of this master plan. There are quite a few challenges I see with this plan, and one challenge that I think that GVSU will face is construction. There's been construction on Lake Superior. I don't know if it's done yet or not. I haven't been on campus in like a couple weeks. I haven't seen it, but I think that that's going to be one of the hardest things, especially when it comes to the demolition of the three buildings, the three residential buildings on campus. Again, they say that they want to bring more people in, but where are you going to put them? If you're knocking down three housing options that were A, one of the cheapest ones, and B, very close to those back, all the like classroom buildings. I get they're old. I didn't live in them. I lived in a relatively new one when I was a freshman. But I think that while it's a great idea, I don't think that if they were able to like take them all down and then build them back up, they'd be able to do that in time for like a new semester to come around. I just don't think that's like realistic or possible. And where would you put all of these students? Makes no sense. I also think that converting Campus Drive into a bus route with no automobile, like, it's not really meant for cars. I think that's just a bad idea. I mean, I drive my car to campus because I don't want to take the bus. Who wants to take the bus? But I also don't want to pay for parking because A, there's not really any parking, and it's super expensive. It's ridiculously expensive. So I pay to park, in the areas where you're allowed to pay to park, and then I just walk to class. But I think that limiting that road is just gonna deter people from, they're not gonna have a great way to like get to class. I use Campus Drive like all the time. I go down there to get to like the parking lots I need to get to. But the one upside of it is I do think it is better to do that than Laker Village Drive, just because Laker Village Drive, you're able to get to more parking lots than you are campus, but you kind of have to go from Laker Village to Campus Drive. So I just don't think it's a good idea at all. Maybe build another road somewhere. I don't know, figure it out, GVSU. I'm not going to do that for you, but I also think that there's an issue. I think that's just a bad idea. Maybe add more buses, not just exclusively keep one road for buses. I just add more buses. Use the money that you would for other projects. Get more buses. Also gives people jobs, people to drive the bus. Awesome. I think that GVSU hit a lot of good points in their plan, but I don't think they really thought it through, like everything that they wanted to do. And for me, I feel like a good idea would be to state the like 3 or 4 things that they'd be wanting to get done that were realistic and would be able to be done within a certain amount of time. Like you'd actually be able to plan out by this month, this year, all that jazz, when stuff would be done. With 3 or 4 things, I feel like that would be easier and more digestible for students and faculty alike, rather than list off a ton of things that they want to do with no time frame on it. And because they've listed so many different things they want to do, if one thing gets done, it's gonna be like, well, that's 1 out of 100 different things that you wanted to do. That's one thing checked off the list. There's still so many more things to do. And I just think if they had like the 3 main goals, like 3 or 4 main goals of things they wanted to do within a specific time frame and then actually accomplish them, then I might be more accepting of the idea of having all of these things that they want to change. Just find the most important ones, which I feel like would be the technology aspect in Lake Michigan and Manitou, as well as the child care center. I also think adding more buses would be another great update. And parking. Like I said before, GVSU parking is horrible. And they said that they wanted to add, in the list, they said that they wanted to add a new parking lot at the corner of 48th and Pierce. But then when I look at the map, because I'm not a directionally smart person, I have to look at a map of GVSU. It's so far away from any of the buildings that I would be going to class in, that most people would be going to class in. Like, I would rather take the bus, and I hate the bus, than park in that lot at the corner of Pierce and 48th and then walk. That just seems like a really stupid way for them to be like, yeah, we're going to fix parking, but then not actually do anything that improves it. Just makes you, have to walk farther. I don't want to walk that far. I honestly, reading that kind of made me mad. Because I was like, there's so many other things you could do. Like, why not add more parking? Maybe take Laker Village Drive and dip it down so there's no... I'm looking at the map right now. I'm actually going to do this. I can't... Where is it? Right here. Take Laker Village Drive and expand it this way rather than going straight here. And then parking lot here. Or, I don't even know, extra parking over here. Maybe just add in more student parking rather than faculty parking, just because the ratio to students and faculty is relatively normal for actual physical people, but when it comes to parking spaces, it's not. So I feel like there are other things we could do, and it seems like them making that parking lot is a joke. So, yeah, I think that they really didn't hit the full mark on this one. I don't think they did a realistic job of listing out what they were going to do. I don't think any of these things were really getting accomplished except for maybe one or two of them. And at that point, is stuff actually getting accomplished, or are we just trying to be like, oh, yay, look, we updated stuff? But there's a ton of other things that need to get done. But figuring out which one's most important is, I think, something that GVSU needs to do better at. But yeah, I'll see everyone in class. Thanks for listening to my rant.